Welcome to the Kindred Sewls YouTube channel. Today we are making the Kincaid fanny pack. We are going to start by threading the cotton webbing up and over the center bar of the rectangle slider by about 2.5 inches. I am then going to fold the raw edge under by about 1 inch, and I'm going to take it to my machine and sew it in place with 2 to 3 rows of stitches. Next, I'm going to slide the other end of the webbing through one of the swivel hooks and then back through the slider, going up and over the center bar, taking care to make sure the webbing is not twisted. Lastly, I'm going to thread the remaining strap end through the other swivel hook. I'm folding the raw edge under by about 1 inch and again securing it in place with 2 to 3 rows of stitches. You can then set the strap aside for now. Next, we are moving on to making the D-ring holders. As you can see, there are notches at the top and bottom center of the K pieces. We're going to fold the sides into the center using those notches for reference. After pressing our D-ring holder flat, we are going to edge stitch along both sides. Next, we're going to thread the D-ring holder through the D-ring, folding it in half and basting it in place. We'll then repeat this whole process to create the second D-ring holder. Now we're going to take one of our side connector pieces and fold it in half, right sides together with the notches aligned. We're then going to slip one of the D-ring holders in between the 2 layers of fabric, 1/4 inch down from the folded edge. After clipping it in place, we'll then sew along the short side and bottom angled edge with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. We're then going to clip the corners, turn the side connector right side out, and press it flat. Lastly, we're going to edge stitch along the top, side, and bottom. And then, of course, we'll repeat this whole process to make the other side connector. Next, I'm going to place exterior piece A in front of me with the right side up and the top edge facing away from me. With the notches and raw edges aligned, I'm going to pin or clip the strap connectors to the sides of piece A and then baste them in place. We can then set the exterior back panel aside for now. Next, I'm going to place exterior piece D in front of me with the right side up. I am then centering the zipper right side down along the top edge and basting it in place. With the right side down, I'm going to place lining piece D on top and pin or clip it in place along the top edge. Using a zipper foot, I'm going to sew a 3/8 inch seam. I'm then going to press the bottom zipper pocket pieces away from the zipper. Using a zipper foot, I will then edge stitch through all of the layers. I am now placing lining piece B in front of me with the right side up. I am then placing the assembled pocket bottom on top, aligning the remaining zipper tape edge with the long straight edge of piece B. You can baste it now or add the zipper cover first and baste it all at once. I'm going to fold the zipper cover in half with the wrong sides together and give it a press. I'm then going to align the raw edges of the zipper cover with the top edge of the zipper tape. And I'm going to baste it in place. So now I'm going to place exterior piece B right side down on top and sew it in place with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. I'm then going to fold the pocket top pieces up with the wrong sides together and press them away from the zipper. Next, we're going to edge stitch through all of the layers. I'm now placing one of my lining A pieces in front of me with the right side up. I'm then placing the front pocket panel on top. I'm going to move the zipper pull in part way and make sure my top, bottom, and side notches are aligned. Baste in place. Lastly, we're going to trim the excess zipper tape and then we can set this front pocket aside for now. I am placing exterior piece F in front of me with the right side up. I am then centering the zipper right side down along the top edge. The zipper pull should be on the right side. I'm then going to baste it in place. We will then place lining piece F right side down on top. The zipper is now sandwiched between the two layers of fabric. Using a zipper foot, I'm going to sew using a 3/8 inch seam allowance. With the wrong sides of the fabric together, I'm going to press the bottom zipper pocket pieces away from the zipper and then edge stitch through all layers. I'm now going to place the pocket bottom in front of me with the exterior side up. I'm going to place exterior piece E right side down on top, aligning the long straight edge of piece E with the remaining edge of the zipper tape. I am then basting it in place using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Next, I am placing lining piece E right side up in front of me. I'm going to place the pocket and zipper on top of lining piece E with the top of the zipper aligned to the long straight edge of piece E. Using a zipper foot, I'm going to sew using a 3/8 inch seam allowance. With the wrong sides of the fabric together, I'm pressing the top zipper pocket pieces away from the zipper. I'm then going to edge stitch through all of the layers. I'm now placing lining piece A in front of me with the right side up. I'm going to place the assembled front pocket panel on top and pin or clip it in place. We want to make sure the zipper is open part way. I am then going to take it to my machine and baste using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Following the curve of lining piece A, I'm going to trim the zipper tape. We can then set the front pocket aside for now. So I'm going to place one exterior top gusset piece in front of me with the right side up, and then center the zipper right side down along the top edge. I'm going to pin or clip it in place and then baste using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I am now going to place the lining top gusset piece right side down on top and clip it in place. Using a zipper foot, I'm going to sew using a 3/8 inch seam allowance. With the wrong sides of the fabric together, I'm going to press the top gusset pieces away from the zipper. I will then edge stitch through all of the layers. I'm going to repeat the same steps to attach the remaining top gusset pieces to the remaining edge of the zipper. So we now want to make sure that we open the zipper part way. We are then going to place the exterior bottom gusset piece G in front of us with the right side up. With the exterior side down, we're going to place the top gusset on top, aligning one short side. We're next going to place lining piece G right side down on top and clip or pin it in place. I'm now going to take it to my machine and sew along the short end with a 3/8 inch seam allowance. Now we're going to slide the opposite short end of the top gusset over to meet the opposite short sides of both G pieces and pin or clip it in place. Again, we are going to sew using a 3/8 inch seam allowance. I'm now going to trim the zipper, and then I'm going to turn the gusset right side out. I'm going to press the seams towards the bottom gusset and then edge stitch on the bottom gusset side of the seams. Lastly, I'm going to baste all around the gusset loop along both sides to secure the lining and exterior together. With the wrong sides together and notches aligned, I'm going to fold piece N in half by bringing the top edge to meet the bottom edge. I am then going to press along the folded edge and then edge stitch. Using the bottom center notch for reference, I'm going to draw a line with an erasable fabric pen down the center of the pocket to mark where I am dividing it. You can add additional lines if desired. I'm now going to place one lining piece A in front of me with the right side up. I'm going to place the slip pocket on top, aligning the bottom, center, and side notches. I'm then going to baste it in place along the sides and bottom of the pocket. Starting at the bottom, I'm going to divide my pocket by sewing along the lines I drew. Make sure you remove the pen lines following the pen manufacturer's directions after sewing. So now I'm going to place pocket piece M in front of me with the wrong side facing up. I'm going to measure down 1 inch from the top edge and draw a horizontal line with a fabric pen or chalk. I am then going to measure 1/2 inch down from that line and draw another horizontal line. Lastly, I'm going to measure in 3/4 of an inch from the sides and draw vertical lines to connect the two horizontal lines. I'm then going to place the lining back panel and pocket piece M right sides together with top edges and center notches aligned. I'm going to pin it in place and then stitch along the rectangle through all layers using a slightly shorter stitch length. You will want to make sure your needle hits the corners precisely. I'm now going to cut down the center of the rectangle through all layers, pivoting at either end and cutting up to the corners. You'll want to cut as close to the stitch line at the corners as you can. So next we will pull the pocket lining through the rectangle to the wrong side of the lining back panel. I'm going to roll the seams out and press them flat. Next, we're going to place the zipper behind the opening and baste it in place. I prefer using glue for this step. As you can see, my zipper is pretty long, but I'm going to trim it down later. I'm now going to use my zipper foot to sew around the rectangle with a 1/8 inch seam allowance. Now I'm going to fold the pocket lining up and pin it along the top and side edges. You want to make sure that you only pin the pocket lining. You do not want to pin it to the main lining panel. With the right side of the back lining panel face up, I'm going to sew along the top and sides of the pocket lining. I'm going to fold the main lining panel out of the way as I go. Because I use such a long zipper, I need to trim it down. I am now placing the back exterior and back lining panels wrong sides together with raw edges and notches aligned. I am then going to baste around the perimeter with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm going to repeat to attach the front exterior and front lining panels. So I'm now placing the front main panel in front of me with the exterior side up. I'm going to turn the gusset lining side out. I'm aligning the top and bottom gusset notches with the top and bottom notches of the front panel and clipping it in place. I'm also aligning the gusset seam lines with the side notches. I'm going to continue clipping the straight edges and then clip the curved areas. I'm going to snip with the scissors perpendicularly into the gusset seam allowance to help ease it around the curved areas as needed. I'm now going to sew with the gusset side up using a 3/8 inch seam allowance. I'm then going to go back and check my curved corners to make sure I don't have any puckers. This one is looking good, but if you do find you have some puckers, you usually can just rip out a few inches and sew it again. I'm now going to do the same thing to attach the remaining edge of the gusset to the back panel. Okay, so we are now at everyone's favorite step, which is binding the raw edges. I'm just going to take my bias tape here and I'm going to fold it over by about 1/2 inch. And I'm going to pin it with the gusset side up. I just like to pin the first part because it's easier to get this folded edge under the needle. And I'm going to clip mine around. You don't have to do this. You could just align it as you go. Okay, so keep in mind that we're not trying to hide this seam, we're just trying to cover these raw edges. So we're going to take it over and sew all around either in the crease or just to the right of it. It seems like some store-bought brands are a little narrower, so sometimes when I'm using a store-bought binding, I sew in the crease, but when I'm using a homemade one, I sew a little bit to the right of it. And we're gonna sew all the way around, and then when we get to back to where we started, you're gonna overlap by about 1 inch and then just trim off the excess. Okay, so now we're going to fold the bias tape around the raw edge and just make sure it covers the seam from the previous step. And if you're having a hard time because of the thickness of the fabric, you can trim it down by about 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so now you're gonna sew again with the gusset side up, and you're gonna sew just along the edge here so that you catch the underside as you go, and sew all the way around. So once you are done binding the other edge, you can turn your bag right side out, attach your strap, and admire your work.